Hey, what's going on, everyone? Justin here, and it's been a little while since I've done a Friday read, or I guess a weekend read in this case, and I thought it'd be a good chance to kind of talk a little bit about what's going on, also a little bit about some of the books I've been reading, what I'm reading right now, and have picked up recently, and all that kind of random stuff. So let's just go ahead and get into it. So the first book that I finished, I guess most recently, is The Shape of Wonder, How Scientists Think, Work, and Live by Alan Lightman and Martin Rees. And Pantheon Books was kind enough to send this to me. And I was really excited because where I live in like a super blood red rural kind of area, scientists sometimes are, considered like the establishment or that kind of, whatever that really means. I couldn't even really tell you. In this book, what it does is each chapter is kind of interspersed with little vignettes. I guess I should tell you what the chapters are like. Each chapter kind of has like kind of a broader theme. Like, for example, one of the longer ones towards the end is ethics in science and how scientists kind of navigate stuff like that. But each chapter is interspersed with like little vignettes and interviews effectively of different scientists in different stages of their lives and careers. Some starting out, some are a little bit older and kind of like, like I said, more established in their path and whatnot. But the book just shows, all these scientists, whatever they're doing, even though they love science and stuff, science to them, in a way, it's still, they still work, they still have a life, they still like food, they still have problems paying their bills sometimes. They complain about how, small their apartment might be, how they can't afford it, in a big city and whatnot. Some have really good relationships, some are single, some, have pets, some can't have pets, all that kind of stuff. So you kind of learn that, scientists are real people, just like everyone else. And one of the ones, examples that I found like really interesting, and it like applies to a lot of people, a lot of people don't like working on their days off, and it was kind of funny because it was kind of split with these scientists, how some no, like the weekend time is either for me and my hobbies or it's for me and my family, that kind of thing. And then there's some that are like, I can't think of anything better to do with my life because it's so exciting what I'm doing in the lab or out in the field or whatever. So they want to like continue working like as much as they can because like to them it's not even a job. So I don't know, like I said, you kind of get the big kind of just variety of how scientists are basically just real people, which I think a lot of us know that, but for some reason, there's kind of that weird cognitive dissonance that, some people think, scientists with a capital S are kind of out to get them or out to get, certain groups of people and that kind of thing. And it couldn't really be farther from the truth. So anyways, I thoroughly enjoyed that one. I might do kind of a deeper review of that one as well. It's something, like I said, I live in a really super rural community, but it is interesting now with like my new position running a library and stuff, kind of navigating sort of some of these things in a way, just because like, for example, October 5th is the beginning of banned book week and stuff, and I guess I've come to the realization that in some parts of the country, doing things for banned book week is just like either the biggest hassle in the world, or you can't even like do it and that kind of thing. I will say my community, my local communities up here aren't like, they don't, at least hopefully they're not watching this, they want to come against me, so aren't into like banning books, and that's not like a problem at all. And actually the majority of people are really interested in talking about it and that kind of stuff. So like I said, I've been having a good time with it. Like I said, we were in the Stone Age for a little bit, trying to see if we can resurrect it and everything. Like we didn't have Instagram, like barely any social media presence at all. Not that that's like the main thing and stuff, but if you want to help out just by like liking my library's like page and Instagram and stuff, I'll leave links down below for that. This is a buddy read that I'm currently reading for some friends over on Discord, and it's Ahab's Rolling Sea, A Natural History of Moby Dick by Richard King. And I picked up this used copy in a bookstore, and the author had like this like really cool doodle and like signature and everything, which I thought was just like super awesome. Don't ask me why I haven't read it yet. For some reason, I thought it was more of even though it says A Natural History of Moby Dick, I thought it was more of like a commentary on like the literary parts of Moby Dick. I don't that me just not having any comprehensive like reading skills there. It's super awesome. It's exactly what I would want from a book like this about Melville's works and stuff, where different things. Obviously, whales and cetology is a huge part of the work, and that's covered a lot in here. But also like squid, sharks, like sailors' diets. Who was like what were like the encyclopedias and literature that Melville had access to on his journeys and things like that. I've just been finding it really interesting to see like what Melville got right and what he got wrong. There's a few things obviously he probably really couldn't have known. There just like wasn't really a way for him to know certain stuff, or there wasn't terminology for it. I guess that was accepted. You know, for example, like plankton and krill, that wasn't really like a thing yet. So he just called it Brit and things like that. But interesting to see like how really accurate a lot of like the seamanship's like lore, and like, you know, all the sailors and the captains and stuff, like just kind of that like oral history and knowledge. Well, I guess they wrote down everything and like a lot of things in journals and stuff as well. How accurate they were with a lot of different like aspects of things, and you know, being able to identify whales just based on their spouts and stuff. I think that's like super fascinating. Been really enjoying it. So I feel like we snuck like a natural history book in there. I'm about halfway done, so hopefully I can bang out some of that this weekend. I feel like my reading is going to go like this a lot with a 1 month old, along with my other one in the house now. So some nights, I like last night, I got like 3 hours of reading like right in a row. But other nights you just like can't do it, even when I'm holding her and stuff. It just doesn't like work out. And then Sophia's like, I have to make a cameo. As you can see, we'll have to get the others sometimes. We got Daisy and Ajax and Wendy too. So another one that I'm partway through. The Experiment was kind enough to send me this one. This one looks really cool. I'm only about maybe a third of the way in this one. It's The Secret World of the Denisovans, and this is by, let's see, Sylvana Condemi and Francois Sabatier, who are really prominent. Well, I guess Sylvana is one of the world's like leading like anthropologist and that kind of thing, and Francois is a science journalist from France. And I've been finding it really interesting. You know, you hear about Denisovans a little bit when you're reading about like Neanderthals, early hominins, and stuff like that. But apparently, there's only a couple bone fragments, and the species is mostly identified just by the DNA, like kind of genome stuff. Like, you know, they don't have like a full skeleton and everything, but the DNA doesn't match really anything else that we have. So like, there's kind of like this like debate on can you have a species based only on like the genome evidence and everything like that. And like I said, I'm not too far in, but that's kind of where we're at, and I've been finding it really interesting. I used to hate anthropology, and now I don't, so maybe I'm growing up a tiny bit. And kind of speaking on like trying out new things and whatnot, with my position, I've been trying to read a little bit more. For example, I read a thriller. I think it was my first like thriller as an adult, like a week ago, and it was A Solitude of Wolverines by Alice Henderson. And the reason I picked that one up is there's a really famous local author, or I guess main author, Paul Doiron, who writes kind of like main game warden suspense thriller stuff. And I was kind of doing some research to see if I could find some similar things from a lot of people kind of finish that series. That way I have a recommendation for them. And this one's all about like an animal biologist who gets, I think in each book, is going to get caught up in all these like weird suspense thriller like scenarios and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't have anything to compare it to, so I think it was enjoyable. I don't know how like unrealistic thrillers can get sometimes, but anyway, so yeah, that was a fiction book that I read pretty recently. And then one genre that I want to say, I haven't read any, I keep saying it in some of these videos, that I think I might like, theoretically, like ancient Greek classical world stuff is my favorite era of history. So there's an absolute slew, I guess, you know, on the wake of like the success of like Madeline Miller and stuff. Though there were a few other ones as well before her. I was thinking maybe like Greek, Roman, ancient, Near Eastern retellings-ish or something might be like a thing for me. So I picked up I found this one used, and this one's Alcestis by Catherine Buechner. And Alcestis is my favorite ancient Greek play. It's written by Euripides, and I just figure if my favorite Greek play can turn into a novel, and I enjoy the novel pretty well, maybe that will be a thing. Granted, I probably should start with kind of like more of like the OG stuff, like Song of Achilles and Circe and stuff. But you know, I just got to do things the more difficult way, apparently. But I did recently. I am gonna pick up. There's like a retelling, a glorious is it Inglorious Exploits or Glorious Exploits? It's a Greek retelling or something, or it's like a historical fiction set in the era of like the Peloponnesian War, but like the Athenians who got captured in Sicily, in Syracuse, and I'm not 100% sure, but it looked so goofy, like just the cover and whatnot. I'll put it up there. That I was like, you know, maybe I'll try that too. I don't know. And then one more book that I did pick up that's kind of a little more in my normal wheelhouse here is we have Oathbreakers, The War of Brothers That Shattered an Empire and Made Medieval Europe by Matthew Gabriel and David Perry. So I read one of their other books, The Bright Ages, which I thought was okay. I didn't think it was like the greatest, but I think it just got a little too in the weeds with the astronomy and stuff. That was all about how much like the calculations and how many things, like a lot of these like medieval monastery monks knew of the astronomical world and that kind of stuff. This one is all about Charlemagne's grandsons and how they basically destroyed the Carolingian Empire with like civil war and whatnot. So definitely, like I said, much more in my wheelhouse and stuff. And it's got a really cool name, so I figured I'd pick that one up when I saw it as well. So there you have it. Those are a few books, like I said, that I'm reading, have read, might read at some point. Just let me know kind of like what your thoughts are on some genres that you think that I might like. Like I said, I have a feeling thrillers and suspense and stuff just aren't gonna work for me, but I feel like I need to just like branch out. Like I've been trying to read like maybe one middle school book a month. I'm gonna start reading like on a graphic novel a month just to have like more ideas and recommendations and stay in the loop and be able to talk to the kids and the adults and everything like that on stuff. So that's my plan anyways, and Soph is basically telling me I need to turn the video up, so I guess we'll leave it at that. But always remember, whatever you end up reading this month, read victoriously.